Thank you. August 13th, City of Sisters workshop, 5:30 workshop. Just for clarification, for all the new faces, and thank you so much for coming out. Workshop is kind of, we do 2 meetings during a council meeting. Usually a workshop is usually a time when councilors just discuss topics. Usually not a place where we make hard decisions, we don't vote on policies, things like that. Really more of an informative time, or kind of do some thinking about some projects. So it's also usually a time we don't have public comment. We will have public comment at the beginning of our regular meeting, which starts at 6:30. So if there is public comments wanting to be made, we can do that then. And there's forms in the back to sign up. If you haven't already done that, we will need that form. Tonight's 2 topics are going to be a public art program and roundabout art. So they're both really very interwoven. So Carrie Prosser, our Assistant City Manager, will lead us off with that discussion.
Good evening, Council. The first topic that we're going to discuss is public art. So in fiscal year 24-25, City Council goal under good governance was to explore and establish a public art program. So over the course of the last year, I've been looking into that, going and talking to different cities, researching what they've done for public art programs, and kind of giving you an overview of what a program could look like in the City of Sisters. What I'm looking for tonight would be guidance on moving forward with a couple things that I'm going to present at the end of the meeting, or at the end of this topic, what your thoughts are on those, and if I can proceed to move forward with some of those projects. So that is the first. So public art, there's key components to public art programs, and well-defined goals is one of them that helps select artists and artworks. And one of the things that this previous council did back in 2020 was adopt guidelines for public art. So that was included in your packet, and that kind of outlines how we procure art, the things that we can do, how we maintain art, all those different pieces. So that was included in the packet, but we have some fairly specific criteria and guidelines right now. It's also composed of a decision-making body composed of community leaders, arts professionals, citizens with interest in the arts. So this is where it can vary from city to city. What I found was quite a few cities actually have their public art programs run through another entity. So an art association, a commission, different things like that. For example, Bend, there's 2 examples locally. Bend uses Art in Public Places to do all of their art procurement and public outreach to do all their art within the city. And then on the other side of that, Redmond does have a city-based arts board. So it can look very different. Both of those 2 places have done art for a long time. Both can work well. It just kind of depends on what the city is after. So important to have assigned staff to manage the program and organize under one lead department so that it's kind of a cohesive shot. And then a funding source that ensures that public art is financially supported, and I'll go into a little bit of that in my next slide. Protocols for the ongoing maintenance and cataloging of artworks. We do have some of that built into the public art policy, but probably stepping that up if we intend to procure and have more art. And then also part of a good program is public education activities and community engagement so that the community is engaged with the art. I do have, you want to turn that one up for me?
It is.
Okay, I'll have her turn that one up. Is that better? That's helping? Okay. So funding can vary. It's based on the project, the scope, the scale, and the resources that we have. Smaller programs where you're maybe doing a temporary installation or just a few pieces of artwork may need, generally it can be up to $50,000 annually depending on what you're doing. Larger ongoing initiatives involving multiple artworks, community engagement, and long-term maintenance require larger annual budgets. There is what's called a percent for art model, and this is what Bend uses, which is, I believe they do 1% of their capital projects goes back into the art fund. That is mostly through facilities, so it's not when they're building a street or a pump house or those kind of things. It's really like they're using their public works facility that they just built. That percentage went back into the fund, and that then turns that money over to Art in Public Places for them to then decide where they're going to use those funds for art. Other potential funding sources include the Urban Renewal Agency funds, potential grants, private donations, and any public-private partnerships. So a good example of a public-private partnership, and And actually, the majority of our art locally has been either donation or public-private partnership, but the bench that was put in last summer at Creekside Park that Skip Armstrong did, that was a memorial bench. A family donated that bench, paid for that work, we installed, and it sits within our park. So that's a good example of what that would look like. Private donation, the Stallion is a great example of that. That was a private donation to the city. And the majority of ours have been donations that we have currently. So moving forward, there's a couple things that I'm going to ask you to think about. Some have been funded, you funded, so we talked about this in the budget, so some of this has been funded, but install art pedestals at City Hall. We're talking about doing, the new garden out on this side of City Hall in the grass, and a piece of art there would actually be really welcoming, and that street is getting used quite a bit more, so I think it would be very interactive. And then at the Mobility Hub, the new Sisters Gateway Park, 3 to 5 pedestals there. Those were all budgeted for fiscal year 25-26. We've actually walked the Mobility Hub and kind of thought about where those pedestals might sit. We're talking about beginning to develop a program for rotating art at the Sisters Gateway Park and Mobility Hub. So talking with Redmond, they have a very robust rotating art program. So we would have to build that program, it would be maybe a slower start. They, after almost 20 years, have 13 pedestals that are rotating. Talking with them, they recommended maybe start with 3 in the first year, the first 2 years, see how it goes, and then kind of grow from that. So that was one piece that I'd like to get some feedback on. Explore adding art pedestals to the Adams Avenue design. Perhaps not a large amount, but a couple spots where we think we could probably do art on Adams as we redo that street. And then review and update the 2020 public art policy and guidelines as needed if we need to make them more robust, change them. And then also, one of the ones I'd really like some guidance on tonight is explore establishing a public arts advisory board. So if that's a direction that the council would like to do, that would be a process where we'd have to build a resolution and kind of the guidelines of what that board would do, and then move forward with putting that out for local residents. So looking ahead in kind of years 2 and 3 on this, what I'm looking at is, a good goal would be to install at least one permanent public art piece each year. And then also identify funding sources for that public art. So those are the kind of the questions I have for you. The two probably time sensitive for me would be, are you comfortable with staff developing a program for rotating art? And then also exploring to establishing a public art advisory board. So with that, I will let you ask questions or clarify.
I'm kind of curious, when you talk pedestals, what do we think these are going to look like? It's going to be a concrete pad? And how would art be placed on those and then protected from walking off?
So we actually got the schematics from Redmond, so they have theirs in their town. And you'd want them to be pretty consistent when you're talking about the rotating art program. They do vary in Redmond. Some of them are 2 feet by 2 feet, some of them are 3 feet by 3 feet, so where the top of the pedestal is a little bit different, but they're about 2 feet tall in most cases, and then they have a plate on top where the art is actually attached. So the art has not walked off in Redmond yet. It has had some damage, and they've had a couple of different things, but they've really had pretty good luck with that, so they have not seen it walk away.
So the artist who's participating would develop whatever they're going to display, knowing it would be attached to that plate, so they'd have to build a base or something into it to hook to the plate?
Yeah, and that would be something that would, if we go in and look at, if you'd like us to do a project or a plan, we'd have to develop all of that piece still. So I've researched some of that, but there's nothing that has been completely developed there yet.
I kept seeing the word pedestal. I was trying to think exactly what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
And how we would have those when they're empty not look like, what's that odd thing sitting at the side of the street? So.
Yeah.
Especially on Adams or something like that, where we're looking at a landscape design, street design.
Yeah, and they come in different sizes.
Correct.
Staff talked about in other cities like Lake Oswego, Florence, Redmond, that have kind of these gallery without walls sort of exhibits with public art. They're going to be integrated into the sidewalk even, right, where you have a concrete pad that then the art can be mounted to. The pedestals, kind of bring it up, and there's different dimensions to kind of bring that art up, and then you kind of coordinate the different art sizes, art pieces to what pedestals or pads that you have available. I think for our initial program, we'll probably have to kind of work to figure out what makes sense from our budget, but also the certain areas and locations that we're looking at putting these.
And I think one of the reasons, I sat and talked with the woman who runs the program in Redmond, and we had actually been we were like, let's do 7, let's do more, and she really said your first few years is scale back and see what works and what you're getting for art and how that works within your community. So I think starting with one and then working our way into kind of what that next iteration looks like.
Well, if you have the framework, obviously, you can scale it up as
Yeah.
you go, right? But we got to have that framework, so I'm super supportive of the idea. I'd really like to create a public art advisory board to help us with that. I don't think that city council is necessarily the place always for that final decision, and I think having a citizen board like a public advisory committee of some type would be good. I don't think for an artistic town, I think we kind of don't have enough robustness in our public / private cooperation that we would need to do this. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this rolls out. But I'd really like to see it roll out. I think that there's things we can do and have stronger partnerships in the community. And if we build that framework, I think that we'll get more people to come forward as we grow, and it'll be really sweet. I've never been shy about talking about my trips to Joseph. It's one of my favorite places to get out of Sisters, but it's more like Sisters than a lot of people understand. And there's a lot of art on the bulb outs, and I know they have a foundry. Maybe we can bring a foundry here down the road, but let's get an art program in place that helps us display what we have now. So I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm also in favor. I like the idea of having an advisory board to start, but with the thought of keeping an eye on it and seeing if sometime it could move out into a privately run organization.
And I participate monthly in a cultural and arts kind of roundtable conversation with the state of Oregon and quite a few cities. And there's a couple cities that have had those transitions back and forth, interestingly enough, and it's gone from city to private to city back to private. So that is something that does happen.
Yeah, and obviously we just have to see how it goes and watch it over time.
Do you think there's any value in it starting within the Parks Board and then stepping it up if needed, or you think this is really, because it's going to be public spaces, that's where I'm kind of going with that.
I think that based on kind of the criteria of, similar to Planning Commission and like the Public Works Board and the Urban Forestry Board, where in the resolution to form a board, it talks about kind of, to some degree, people with these skills on the board. I think that art group maybe looks different than a Parks Board, which doesn't mean that if we're putting a piece in a park, it wouldn't go through the Parks Board as well. I think there's a little bit, even with the pedestals, that maybe Public Works Board needs to kind of look at that and see. So I think there's some continuity between all of those places, but at this time, I would probably recommend going with a separate entity.
And how much of staff time do you think this would kind of take up as it evolves? It's, I love the idea as well. It's just, how much is it going to?
I think the starting lift will be quite a bit, depending on what kind of programs. But I don't actually foresee this being necessarily a board that meets every month all the time. There'll be work that needs to be done, particularly if you have a rotating art program. You lift it off, and then you have 2 years before it comes back around, and you have to lift again. If you're procuring a piece of art a year, that might look like 6 meetings a year. It might look like quarterly meetings. So, to the beginning, yes, I think it will take some staff lift, but I think we can, as a lot of things, they get up and running. It will take less and less time.
Would the Public Art Advisory Board, just kind of looking at that mural right there, would not be just limited to the pedestal artwork? We could say murals or other forms of art.
Yeah, so it could be, and one of the things that I didn't, put in here, I know we've talked before about a mural program, and Would be that the first thing that would kick off? Probably not, but is it something that they could look at? Yes, something like that could be a piece that they would look at, and we can talk with council about kind of what their goals are for that every year, as we do in goal setting, with the board of kind of what their ideas are, and it could be music, it could be all kinds of things within that.
And
Arts.
perhaps they could even help with reviewing the current public art policy that you're saying
That's-
probably needs to be revisited. So they could work
Absolutely,
on
that would
too.
be one of the probably first pieces that would happen, is just a quick review of that, too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it sounds good. I support the Public Art Advisory Board.
And I do as well, and in kind of response to Mayor Letz's question about the Parks Board, as the representative of the Parks Board, actually I haven't sat on it before I was on council, I think I agree with the idea that this would be better to be a separate group. The expertise of the folks on there really would not be, I think you'd want to be making some of those artistic decisions. I think when it comes time to, it's going to be in a park, where's it going to be placed, what does it mean, especially as we look at UGB expansion or something like that, then certainly that board will be involved, as will others. But I like the idea of starting something. I also like the suggestion that we start it off as something we run, and then we see if that spins off to some group running it. I know I've received some emails, and there were some people, even in our grant process that we'll talk about in the regular meeting, they were suggesting wayfinding and how to find artists and things like that. And that might be something that committee also was able to do some vetting on and thinking about how we do this, especially if we have a pedestal program. How do we direct to other places in town? And I agree with you, Mike, that, Councilor Preeden, sorry, that we really don't do a lot to represent the work that goes on in this town with our numerous artists and artistic endeavors that happen and occur.
Yeah, I think we can lean into it for sure. The one thing I would add to this whole discussion is I'd like to not be like other agencies, maybe state-level agencies, and make sure that we budget for this as well and have a regular source of funding. And I don't know exactly the best way to do that yet. I mean, I know we can use urban renewal funds, but that's sunsetting soon, so, or daylighting, whatever the right term is. And, but I don't think it hurts us to at least keep that on our minds as we're going forward, is how we're going to pay for that and make sure that we have public support to remove those funds from our budget and put them there. So
It is a question to pose to the committee as well. A lot of cities have like a % for art program or other dedicated sources of funding just for the arts. There's a lot of nuance in that, right, of having stable funding that is tied to a % for art on a project. But we have allocated funds this year through the general fund, and that can be something that we revisit every budget cycle. And a lot of these programs with the rotating art have something like a people's choice. People vote on the rotating art, and the winner, the city will acquire, right, as a permanent part of the art collection. And so that's just one idea that doesn't have to be a huge budgetary expense every year, but a small expense to buy a piece of art every year.
yeah. Would art that's installed in a park be, would it make park SDCs available to that kind of thing?
It's probably a
think-
bigger question than I can have an answer, but yeah.
It's just a question that, it's another funding source, right? Maybe.
Probably not. I mean, so parks SDCs would be limited to the development of, new park for amenities that are in our Parks Master Plan. I don't know if art was included in our Parks Master Plan in existing or expansions of existing parks or new parks, but something to look into. I don't know if a city has.
Yeah, down the road especially.
I mean, functional art, maybe, right?
Claire?
So I guess I want to back up for a moment, and I do realize that the art program was under our council goals for the year, and we do have a lot of goals on our plate right now, and I think, well, it is my desire, we haven't talked about it as a whole council, that we are prioritizing our goals because we have a lot of heavy lists right now. So, saying that I'm behind this and moving forward on it, I would say it's lower priority than a lot of other things. So if it didn't happen at the same speed as which a lot of things do happen, that would not be a disappointment or a surprise. So, yeah.
So I think I have clear direction, working forward with a art committee, and that you're in favor with the pedestals and the rotating art program.
So that would come forward as a resolution to form that group?
So resolution potentially, dependent upon what we look like, resolution in September, maybe opening with the October cycle for folks to apply for boards, and then starting in January. It could potentially be the time frame for that. We'd have to take a hard look at that and kind of see where it
Be
lands.
ambitious.
Make it happen.
I
Great,
did have a
thank
couple
you.
more questions. Did anybody else have any questions?
Well done.
Just, in the packet, you mentioned honorarium, I think it's especially for the rotating artists.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Like, what range are we looking at?
So anywhere usually between 1,000 and 2,000, depending on the city. So I've been looking into comparing things, and it really, for me, I was looking at, usually they get like half up front when when the art is installed, and then half when the art comes down. So about $1,000 probably for us. So these aren't large pieces. They are getting the pieces back. And you have to think about it in terms, it's kind of like just an outside gallery. Like, people are going to see their work. Their work is also for sale, so it could sell, and we would determine whether, if sold and wanted to take it right then would we let that happen? Or if sold and at the end of the 2 years, would it be then? So those are all things that we could consider, but the artist does have, they're basically getting that exposure as well.
Okay. And then I just think, one other thing is that, I don't know if we need to codify this, but I'd really like it if there was, a pedestal or space or something for youth art, or, kind of from a concept. I mean, everybody is very attached, to our fence out there and the artwork on there. I know that, with this community and the, the art that youth can produce is amazing. And so just as a concept, I don't know if that needs to be written down or just.
Probably
throw
not
that out there.
within, but I think that you could, it's in your council goals to work more with youth and younger people and developing those relationships. So I think just that alone, and that's a potential you could start out with, maybe we decide that there's at least one pedestal every rotation that is for somebody 18 and younger. So something like that would be easy to throw into a program. And let's it be flexible enough as well to change at times, so.
Okay, anything else? Any other comments?
Awesome stuff.
Okay.
All right. So we'll
Carrie.
On that.
move. I will sit down again, and here I am.
Okay,
For the next
Carrie.
topic.
And now, next up, we have on our agenda, Roundabout Art Procurement Process.
All right. So this was a 24-25 Urban Renewal Agency goal for the council, or for the Urban Renewal Agency Board. And it was really. Yes. Oh, you still, should I change, let me change mics on you. Let me just do a little quick. How's that? Better? Gonna crank it? Is it better?
Closer to you.
Better now?
No,
She's turning it up right now. Nothing? Anything? Test? Test? From the back row, can you hear me? Are the speakers turned up on that?
It's up.
Pardon? The speakers are all the way up?
Your workshop mic is up to the top.
How are the speakers, though? Are they turned up? And the monitor speakers, maybe too? Better? Yep, there I am. There we go. Yeah, it's the speakers. All right. Yay. Sorry you guys just sat and heard nothing for the last half an hour. I apologize for that. It was really exciting.
It was a great conversation.
Yes. So sorry. So this, our procurement was part of the 2024-25 Urban Renewal Agency goal, was to initiate the public art procurement and installation process for the US 20 at Locust Street Roundabout, right outside of our door. So a little background on this process. April through June 2024, we had a request for proposal was created with a budget set at $175,000. We did an online survey that was distributed to the community about what the general theme should be. And then we pulled together an RFP review committee to look at the RFP and then release the RFP. In July of 2024, we released that first RFP. It was due back in September. We got 36 proposals, and the RFP committee reviewed and decided to revise and reissue the RFP. We rewrote the RFP, and in November 8th of 2024, we re-released it and was due January 7th, 2025. Second call for entry, posted 53 proposals were submitted, and the committee conducted multiple jury rounds via CAFE platform, and 2 finalists were selected. In March and April of 2025, the finalists gave a presentation with the RFP committee. Scale models were displayed at the Sisters Library and the high school for public input, of which we had 612 responses. And City Council in April chose not to select either finalist for installation, which leads us to where we are now, which is that they asked staff to come back with options for consideration on procurement of art for the Roundabout. So in your packet, Councilor, you saw 7 different options, and Mayor, we can do this a couple of different ways. I can go through an option and you can talk about it. I can go through all 7 options, and then you can discuss how would you like me to proceed with that.
Anybody have an opinion? I know there's kind of maybe 2 ways we can handle it. One is going over them and talking about ones like we like, or we can also talk about ones we feel like we can eliminate and
I'd like to
down.
start by hearing about all 7.
Me too.
Okay,
All right,
great.
That also allows the group, the folks that hear the same thing.
that's great.
Great. So option 1 is an issue for a third call for artists, open competition, which would be basically following the same format that we had done in the previous 2. It would reopen the opportunity for a broad pool of art. For the first 2 calls, so we basically work in the Northwest all the way through Colorado. So option 2, issue a third call for artists by artist invitation. So you can limit the competition to curate a list of pre-qualified artists to submit proposals for a specific site. Pre-qualified artists would be, we haven't put criteria to that yet, but potentially be people who have done roundabout artwork before, or have done large outdoor pieces. So really determine what that looked like, but you would pre-qualify the group to make sure that people were able to do the process. And then mayors will hire quality submissions because they're people more directed and folks have done this kind of work before. It could reduce time and administrative resources compared to an open call. It may limit the number of artists who are qualified who actually submit proposals. Option 3, direct purchase of artwork, is where the city could choose to purchase a work of existing art directly from a gallery killer or from a private individual. They could also identify and acquire existing art that meets the site's criteria, which streamline the process and may allow for faster installation. 4th option is a donation of the artwork, as citizens may directly purchase or commission artwork and then donate to the city. That these does have some criteria in our policy and guidelines for public art as to what the city would like to take as a donation. Option 5 is establish a new selection process completely, develop a new approach that may include community engagement, design assurance, collaboration with local organizations. This could provide broader community input, increase public buy-in, may require additional time and resources to implement in that way. This is not anything that we have within our public art policy right now. That was just an option. If you guys wanted to do something that we hadn't thought about before. Option 6 would be landscaping only. It's received landscaping the area without incorporating art. We do have a landscape project going on in the Roundabout right now that will be doing some basic landscaping there already based on your decision in April. So we may consider in this option doing more landscaping in the Roundabout at that point. And then option 7, entrance sign and landscaping, is proceed with landscaping the area and incorporate some sort of an entrance sign into the downtown area. So those are the 7 options, and I have a couple other considerations depending. I'll go back and we'll talk about those, and you guys can determine.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be one of those 7. It could be 2 of them, or a hybrid of something as well.
Good start. Thank you.
One of the 2 things just to consider as you're thinking about the art theme direction, would you choose to go out to the fall? Would you like to update or revive the theme? And then the art review process. Does the council wish to go out for a call, which to in the current review committee, and or explore other ways of doing that process. So those are the possibilities, and I'll pull this back to the first few options and happy to answer questions or clarify anything.
And to reiterate at the bottom of that, these are, in the packet, it is, we kind of set aside in the urban renewal agency fund, which is paid from, citizens inside of the City of Sisters, $175,000 for this process.
Well, my thoughts in regards to actually eliminating some of these, I'm just not a fan for us to go back for a third call. No fault to the committee that went through the first two calls. I really appreciate all the work they did. We just didn't get the submissions that we were hoping for, perhaps, or they didn't qualify based on our requirements and our budget. So I'm actually favoring to remove option 1 and option 2.
I can easily agree to that.
I can also agree to that.
I'm on the fence on that one, but that's okay. That's the way we do this.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in agreement with that as well. It's frustrating because I know, Carrie and staff worked really hard on this. I know the committee is top notch, all local professionals in the art world, and best laid plans sometimes don't work out. And that's the best of your plan and stuff. But I think, and I know in previous discussions, at least with the staff, going out for a third call, can start giving maybe Sisters a little bit of a bad reputation in the artist community.
That's true.
We do not want to do that. So I can kind of see the advantage of at least eliminating those two at least.
I'm gonna be this, I don't know, Scrooge in the room. At this point in time, the only option I would consider is either 6 or 7. I think we have way too much push for one particular piece of art without having any consideration for others. I have had emails expressing that, many emails saying it's a great idea. Not a lot from city residents, but from others, and I understand that. I've also had a number of emails saying they don't like the idea. So I think we need to spend more time on this. If I'm into landscaping or option 7 and letting this settle down and come back and revisit it. But at this point in time, I will not, and I am not inclined to accept the generous offer for the competition statute in the roundabout. I have very, very, very significant concerns about its location, not the art. I think the art's great. The location is not appropriate because it's going to encourage people to be in the middle of that roundabout with pictures and things like that. I know you don't agree with me, but that's my job to think about that way. And I don't want someone to be clobbered by some idiot going too fast around that roundabout while they're trying to get across the street to get a picture in front of a piece of art that's very important to them. I'd love to see it somewhere else in town. I just don't think this is the location, and you will not have me vote against for this location, no matter what.
So are you?
I just want to be clear.
And
I want people here to know too. I'm nothing to hide on this. It's the wrong spot. And that's really what my concern is.
Are you feeling maybe choose one of the option 6 or 7 and then maybe also option 5, establish a new selection process?
Yep, but I think for now, we need just to take and let us take a hard look at this. Like I said, it's not the piece of work. I've seen examples of it. Red Bluff just put one in. It's very nice. There's a not in a roundabout, and it's just on a pedestal in a prominent part of town. And I think that's really what I would like to see. I'd like to be able to have the public interact with this piece of art if it's put in. Can't interact with it in the middle of a roundabout. I think there are folks who feel very strongly about it and would love to be able to interact with this piece of work. So I think it's the right work in the wrong spot, and that's my position, and I'm pretty firm on it.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and speak up and say I'm the exact opposite of that. I think that there's been a groundswell of public support for the Red Rock art, and I know a lot of these people. I know we all know many of them, but it's a beautiful piece of art. It couldn't be more sisters based. Red Rock grew up in this town. I didn't know Mark Hunky myself, but I'd love to thank him for doing what he did. I think that we should choose an option to at least explore the option of procuring the art directly from this group. It's a gift to the community from this group because they are adding money to make this happen. It's not just $175,000, which is, yes, that's what we're contributing. But people have generously brought money forth to complete this art in the way it should be, which is 100%. The community's bought into it in that regard. They put their time into coming here and writing. And it's, I dare say, a much larger group than the people that have had negative opinions about it. So I would like to try option 3 or option 4, whatever is best to do. I don't know which one they might be interested in, but I think that some discussions with them could be had and see this happen. Again, because this bowl grew up on a piece of property in this town, it couldn't be more representative of Western heritage in these centuries. And that's where pandering to you. I just agree with you strongly, right? We don't have another piece of art that's been brought forward by anyone else other than the 2 pieces that were recommended by the art group that we put together. And they just weren't good enough, no offense, no board, but that's how I feel, and that's the way I'd like to vote. Or at least proceed, because we're not voting tonight.
I'm open, obviously, to leaving the door open. I mean, let's just talk about the elephant in the room or the bull in the room. I think about the story is what really makes this a special piece and what ties it to sisters. Otherwise, it's just a no-named cowboy on a no-named bull for the people who drive by it. Without that story, it doesn't have that link and that wonderful connection to our community. This is where I get challenged with the idea of the roundabout, because the story can't be told at the roundabout. It's not conducive to telling the story. I imagine this being where we've got walk traffic of lots of foot traffic, where people can go up, admire this beautiful piece, read the story, understand the connection, and take photographs next to it. I literally drove this morning down Cascade and saw a group of women taking photos at our wonderful wild stallion. And they're right there taking photos, reading the plaque. I don't want this story to be lost if it's put in the roundabout. So this is where I'm at. I'm struggling with that a bit. If there's another solution that could address that, sure. But in, like Councilor Ross explained, I really don't want people running back and forth around the roundabout to read a plaque that's underneath that statue or what have you. It's just not safe. So I would like to keep open the direct purchase of artwork as we work through this a bit more. But I also want to keep open the welcome signage and landscaping in case things don't go well with choosing a piece of art.
You said that better than I do.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilor Keller, and that was very eloquent and well said. And I think it describes a lot of our feelings. I, at this time, am not inclined to want to purchase something. I wouldn't be opposed to putting, if we're talking about, as we said, the bull in the room, about talking about that somewhere else on city property. At this point, I'm curious about the art selection committee we're talking about. As far as trying to direct future, selection processes, whether this might fit well in their purview. At this time, I'm inclined to, want to stick with a landscape or a simple welcome sign that doesn't, use a lot of the funds.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of agreeing with most everybody. I think my frustration with art. I mean, we look like a community like Bend that has a lot of artwork and roundabouts, lots of artwork, which is great. But again, it's so bizarre that we have all this artwork that people cannot access and cannot interact with. I think that is really key for good art. To see, the artwork change as the day goes on and the shadows move across it, and watch your toddlers run around it and interact with it, and putting kind of these more intricate pieces of artwork in roundabouts is just kind of not quite the location we want it to be. I've heard people from ODOT saying that, sometimes they recommend, just you're kind of no pun intended, middle of the road artwork in roundabouts, because you don't want a distraction. You want people to safely move through a roundabout. It is a lane of traffic. So it's kind of, we're really having to look at the big picture here. As is safety, because that's our number one concern, is safety in this community. It's kind of what we're tasked with, keeping all of our people here safe, whether it's, codes for this, it's, paying for the sheriff's department for our coverage, whether it's, fire code, things like that, or, everything kind of comes down to safety, and that's a concern for me with this one. I think, I would like to, what I'm leaning towards is, landscaping, since that is kind of already in process. I'd like to establish a new selection process, and, that could be the art committee that, we've been discussing earlier in the evening, maybe taking that over. Maybe not. And it's something I don't want to, kick this down the road too far by any means. But I think just kind of taking a pause and regrouping, I think kind of closing the chapter on the last process, so that the people involved in that know that, huge thank you from us for all the time and energy that was put into that. Again, a great committee of people and a lot of staff time. And, so they know that their time was appreciated. Just kind of take a little bit of a breather. It's, Council President McDougal had mentioned to me, we have a lot of big stuff coming up on our plate with regards to affordable housing, wildfire, things like that. That we really don't want to be too distracted from. So, and again, I'm really heartened by the idea of having public art in other places that we can really interact with it. It's been really successful in Redlands. I'd really like to see that happen here. Yeah, I think that's it.
And since I kicked off this, in the beginning, I want to be real clear. I haven't got any problems with the piece of work. I think it's an excellent piece of work. I like dirt work. I always have. I have some of the stuff at my house. So it's not about that. It is really about where is appropriate for it to be. And that location to me is not the location. And I think you said it much better. We should have people interacting with it, know the story. It's a great story, a wonderful story. And I just really would like us to, as we move forward in this process, think about if there's another place this piece of work that should go in town, like the public property or somewhere. I'd be willing to entertain that, but I just can't do it out there.
And I think one thing that I would like to take a step back on is that, ultimately, if everything goes to plan over time, we will have 4 roundabouts. There will be one at the intersection of 20 and 126, and there will be one at the intersection of Barclay and Locust. And, I'd just really like to take a step back and think of that in the bigger picture of, maybe we want to do a theme with all the roundabouts, maybe we don't. Maybe they can all just be one-offs, but, we haven't even kind of really approached it from that aspect and, just even have that discussion. So that's just kind of, I think we've all been thinking really hard about this over the last, couple months for sure. So, that's kind of what bubbled up in my head.
I want to make a comment too, because there was a news column on this in the Nugget. A survey had gone out by one of the reporters about the roundabout art. And there was some expression of opinion on, well, this should have been in place a month after the roundabout was finished. This is a really important decision, and I would hope that people can understand that we're just not making this off the cuff. That a really important decision that I think should take as much time as it requires to get it right. And unfortunately, our first 2 cycles of artwork just didn't get it right. So, I just ask the community to be patient and not set an expectation with not realizing how important we see this decision being. And I think I would agree with kind of, I prefer to leave the door open for direct purchase. The thing about a new process though, if that was to be left to the new Public Arts Committee, Carrie, I think you were saying that was more around January timeframe that would start up. We'd have to wait for that. I'm a little concerned about establishing a new selection process. I just know how much time that can take. Maybe it can be accelerated somehow, but I just don't want to delay this so much, that, like we said, we started back in April 2024. So I don't know about creating a whole new selection process unless staff advises otherwise that could be done fairly quickly.
I'm a little uncomfortable without talking about the direct purchase process further. Like, I would want to know what the intention was. That it's not that I'm opposed to it, but I think we have to have a really good idea of what it is we're looking for.
Well, you've been presented with one and you discounted it. That's what number 3 was about, was about direct procurement of something that you see right before you.
I actually think it's bigger than that. There's more to number 3 than there are more options for number 3 than this one.
So you're open for option number 3, anything but Red Rock.
Yeah. I think what I'm saying is that there are some counselors who are not comfortable with Red Rock being in the roundabout. And so it does not mean that we don't want to have it on city property. But I think that for me, there would be a possibility of procuring something else. But I think there's a lot that would have to be discussed before that as well. You can't just, go downtown and walk around our, art galleries and pick something out. So I just, if we're talking about that, I feel like it's, that's just a big, for me, an unknown of what that looks like.
Well, I guess you could interpret establish a new selection process and not maybe it's something that is similar to what we did last go around, but maybe it's just establishing a new selection process could be we are just going to do direct purchase of artwork. Or, you know what I mean? It could be underneath that. That's how I interpreted it, but I feel like we need to just move ahead with the landscaping, because that's already happening. And just take a breather and then come back to it, and not again, not in a long period of time, but just, definitely come back to this.
Well, and I want to respond to what Michael said, and I have a great degree of respect for him, and I know where he's at on this. I think that I'm not discounting having that for someone in this community. I think what I'm trying to tell you, I just think that's the wrong location, period. And we all have an opinion, but I think to say that we've decided we aren't going to do anything about that statue is incorrect. I think what I'm hearing is that, what I'm saying anyway, is that we need to explore what the options might be if we want to move forward with that particular piece of work, but that the location is not appropriate. And you won't get me to change my mind on that one.
Okay, so I think when I was taking some little scribbles here, that there's 3 of us that are at least okay with landscaping moving ahead at the site, because that landscaping is also all of the, kind of scorched earth out there, surrounding it as well with the swale and everything like that, so.
Just to add to that, the landscaping doesn't go away if we choose an art piece to go in the roundabout, right? So I don't think there's waste there in doing that.
Right, it's not like a whole.
Maybe
thing will
we
be
have to move
landscaped, and there
a
will still
bush.
be-
Well, I'm sure there's an option like 6A and 6B here, because you could do enhanced landscaping where it becomes you buy the columns and the, more of the rock and make it more decorative, right? But if council is interested in at some point, some type of art in the roundabout, then we have some kind of interim landscaping that we can do as a bid alternate probably. We're going out to bid on landscaping next week. So some kind of enhanced landscaping that could be modified for an art piece that someday maybe placed there that could be integrated. The landscaping at the other roundabout, I think it was kind of coordinated in with the design that how it goes with the look and feel of what the art pieces are there. Timing wise, though, I mean, we're hitting the planting season. So I think I hear your concerns, but if we do kick this to a public arts advisory board, I think January is actually pretty optimistic. If you think about scoping and setting up a mission and everything for a board recruitment, the first several meetings are probably, who are we, what are we doing? And then you're getting into more of the nitty gritty of, okay, what is the future of art in roundabouts and in other public spaces in our city? So we're looking at probably, next summer when they're actually rolling up their sleeves and talking about that.
But choosing option 6, which is what basically Mayor Letts has been discussing, we're already there. Doesn't preclude moving somewhere else. We haven't put a lot of effort and money into it. We've just made it stable and semi-attractive. And then whether that's enhanced landscaping, whether that's a piece of art, that could be determined. The big piece of it in terms of timing is using the urban renewal funds, and they do have a time limit on them as to when they can be used. But that to me is the sort of the what's in front of us right now in terms of dollars that we're providing. So I'm okay with 6. I'm okay with 7. And the others, I can live with the others. I have no problem with them. I was just kind of trying to think about what we're going to do in the short term while we decide where we're going to go.
Similar to option number 3 or 4, I think with the direct procurement, I think 7 is something that also could be folded into the other options.
Yeah.
Because that could be an outcome that the committee will spun up to consider, right? We have an RFP out currently for our signage master plan. And I think that work actually should be done first before we think about what signs and entering the signs.
And I'm comfortable with the 1 and 2 dropping off. I think that process has not worked well for us, and let's not go down that road again.
I'd like to implore my fellow councilors, all 4 of you, if you don't mind, if you, and it seems like you don't want this piece of art in the roundabout, I would ask you to seriously consider sooner rather than later finding a way to get this piece of art in a prominent place in our community where it can be seen,
interacted with, if that's what you're worried about as far as the safety component. Because I think it's that special and I think it needs to have a home. And if you're not gonna allow it in the roundabout, or you're against it being in a roundabout, I highly recommend that you take this gift from this group and use it and show it to people, because it's that important. It really is. And if it's not gonna be in a roundabout, let's put it somewhere. I'd like the four of you, I'm on board, so, you know, come up with a way where we can do this and put this somewhere very, very prominent. Whether it's city property, find another place. It's designed. You have people that you have people out in the audience that would dig a hole for it tomorrow if they were asked. So let's make it happen. If it's not gonna be in the roundabout, let's make it happen somewhere. That's what I'm asking you for.
Yeah, and like you said, it could be on city property, which, you know, we're working hard on solidifying that process. It doesn't have to be on city property either. There's all sorts of other options, you know, so, yeah, I don't think anybody is against, you know.
I'm just asking you to work towards that goal.
I don't have a problem working to it, but it needs to be 5 and not 4.
Well, it will be 5 minutes. I mean, like I said, I'm already going down that path, so. Thank you.
Repeat that, please. What he said.
What I said?
Yeah.
I said that looking for a location should not be 4, it should be 5. That's what I said.
Or 3 out of 5.
Or 3 or 5, yeah. We can't walk around town together because of the public meeting laws, but we can certainly figure out a way to make that. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not discounting that at all. I think there may be some questions. Well, I don't want to go there. I think there may be some questions about size and scale. We have to look at the particular spot. But I'm with you. I think it's a wonderful piece of work. I haven't got a problem with it. Like I said, all the installations I've seen of this, like I said, one just went in Red Bluff where the rodeo museum is, and others have gone in other towns, typically someplace where one of those particular rides occurred. And so it's a nice piece of work. I haven't got a problem with that aspect of it. I just think we need to figure out where.
Does the landscaping come out of the 175,000 for the roundabout art?
No, the landscaping is separate.
It's separate?
It's separate. The landscaping is the landscape architects. You've already made the design. There are some landscaping going on that roundabout with that. If you do choose option 7, potentially you would need to go back down and get enhanced design for more of that not whatever. So we could have that discussion, but it's 7.
Do you mean 7 with a sign or 7 with a sign for?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's apologize, it's 6.
And I think it's also up to the artist and the donor of the elephant in the room, that whether that's acceptable. It could be roundabout or nothing. It could be, yeah, we'll scale down, create a smaller version, because I think the one for the roundabout was scaled at 1.5 life size, which came out to like 19 feet or so. I might be off a bit. But if it was to go another location, if they would be open to it, because it may not be even an option for us. If the artist and the donor, or maybe we don't even need the donation if it's scaled down enough in size to like the stallion, for example. So I think those be numbers that would be interesting to see and feedback I'd like to hear.
Okay, so to wrap up here, because we gotta wrap up this meeting. I think the direction you need is move ahead with landscaping, though, with the idea that there will still probably be artwork in the roundabout. They'll mitigate for that in the RFP process.
Yeah, I interpret that as like, we're not doing enhanced permanent landscaping, right?
Yeah.
Till we determine.
Yeah.
What type of art will be.
Yeah, no laser light show or anything.
Dark skies.
Dark skies. And now, yeah, we will need to revisit this topic. So do we want to kind of set a timeline on when we revisit this?
Yeah,
Sooner the
you
better.
brought up the question of finding a location for the piece of art.
Well, I think I guess we probably need to have a sense too of whether that's acceptable to the people in the room.
Sure.
I mean, I'm making a lot of assumptions here when I make that statement.
I think you're gonna find out in about 5 minutes.
I do too.
Public comment?
But yeah, basically, if there's still gonna be an art, piece of art in this roundabout, then, yeah, we could have that discussion. Yes, or just,
I'm okay with it.
So I want to make sure, I want to have a clarification of one thing. So we do currently have $175,000 from the URA budgeted for roundabout art. Like that's where we were, okay, at the beginning of the meeting and where we are until this exact second. And so, because we haven't discussed anything otherwise. Are counselors talking about not spending $175,000 on roundabout art and spending it somewhere else? I just want to make sure that we're being clear in our conversation so that we don't walk out of here with five.
No, I don't think we can do that.
Five different.
I mean, I suppose we could, but this $175,000 is part of the ODOT agreement, is that correct?
I believe it's part of that.
So that's not portable. So
Okay,
if we're talking about doing something else in the roundabout, and then all I was asking was you guys to consider a way to make the other stuff happen.
Okay.
I think there would be funds involved with that. They're not identified as of yet.
okay. And I'm okay with any of that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to speak of it so that we had
It was a good point.
an idea of, coming out of here with the same financial thoughts.
I had the same thought in the back of my mind.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure I got that right. 175,000 reserved solely for roundabout art.
Correct.
We,
That hasn't changed.
Was the word art in the ODOT agreement or was it something else?
I would have to go revisit that.
Thank you.
That's like it's in the letter.
Okay.
But it was in the budget, it's 175,000 for.
Well, and I know from my experience in other entities that typically when you do a large significant public work project, part of that is generally to have some type of a public amenity right in it. So I wasn't surprised to see that in URA budget. So
I will warn you, you saw what we got for 175,000. What was recommended or not even recommended, that was not of quality that we thought we might get.
I understand
So
that.
that's
and
That's- I
we
think-
were presented with two options. I mean, we got dozens of submissions, and those were the two that we were presented with. So,
right.
I think there's probably a lot of, this country's full of hundreds of thousands of amazing artists. So, yeah, I think there's, going to be a really nice opportunity. Also, it's art and you will never make everybody happy. It's very
Well, and I would just
subjective.
add that we aren't, with that URA funding has to be 2030.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like we have to have this decision made today on how we're gonna spend that money on roundabout art. And I think we just need to settle down, take a look at other opportunities if there's interest, and go from there. But I had concerns about how we did that process when we did it initially. And, I have a strong suspicion that, we're not really interested in doing that again, so. At least I'm not. I don't know how we'll spend the money, Michael, we'll figure it out, but right now, I think it's important for folks here to hear where I was on this particular topic.
Right, so are you comfortable if we just say we revisit this topic? And then, the procurement process. Is that, or do you need something more specific?
I just, for clarity, what I'm hearing is that we're moving to landscaping only at this point, in the landscaping that we currently have planned. And that you're interested in looking at establishing maybe a new process, but that may be in line with a arts committee
Or it may not,
or not. So
yeah,
that's my question is where in that timeline is it with a new committee or is it with the council to determine what they would like to do and what that process is?
maybe we revisit it when we come back with sort of a plan for what the Public Arts Advisory Committee looks like. Then, like, here's the scope, here's an outline, what we propose for this new committee. Oh, by the way, you want them to be charged with the roundabout art process, or is that something the council wants to keep in here? That can be done. That's all the work session.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer sooner than later, just to get the process going for everybody's concern, so. But I know we also have a really busy fall coming up, so. But, everyone, for everybody, or is that, kind of set this up?
I just want to add one more thing, because I am also a member of the community. I'm also on Facebook. I read everybody's comments. And I appreciate them. I know there's some desire to have this go up to a public vote. But I do want to remind everyone that, as I think Mayor Letts mentioned, this $175,000 is property tax money by our residents within our city limits. I think it's important that we owe it to them, that the elected officials that they elected make this decision, as opposed to a public vote that may be coming from somebody in Madras, for all we know. So I'm very concerned about that. I just want everybody to be aware of that in case you were not aware of where this money is coming from.
You have what you need? Okay, okay, great. So I'm gonna end this workshop and we will start the regular city council meeting again. Much time. Yeah. Hey, thank you, everybody. I'd like to call it up to order the regular meeting of the Sister City Council for August 13th, 2025. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic which stands a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Lutz. Here. Council President McDougal.
Here.
Councilor Frieden.
Present.
Councilor Ross.
Present.
Councilor Pelham.
Here. Thank you. We have an approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll move on to visitor communications, since we have a lot of people. We gotta get this meeting going, but we definitely want to hear from everybody that has put in, form and people online here. So, then limit, visitor communication to 2 minutes, to put up a timer. And, also appreciate, name and your address when you come up. And let's see. That's all it is.
Please make sure you talk into the microphone as loud as we have most of the time, some of the time.
Pretty sure that's the thing. We'll call people up in the order she has.
Go ahead and put it right there. Right there.
Once we get the media out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gary Tewalt.
Thank you, thank you. It's two minutes, it's not very long, don't start yet. I just want to let the council know, and I've told you this before, be sure that you know the character of the community and the town before you make an announcement of your vote. And if you want to know who the characters and the real people of this town, you just look right here. This is it. And more. And I really don't see the reason why you had to have this meeting to determine this. And you don't need all these options because you already have the strategy in place and to have the Red Rock Lane Forest majestic sculpture placement. You could have voted on that already, in my opinion. Now, our town has flourished since 1970 with the Western theme and atmosphere. This community has thrived for 55 years using the Western approach. Without it, none of you people would even be living here. None of you. And I have lived every minute of it myself, every second. So, and the safety issue that you're talking about is nonsense to me. And you mentioned, you got 1,000 critters on the fence down here, the cougars and lions and people. You don't see people crashing. And fact is, the traffic going so slow, if everybody bumped into each other, you wouldn't have any incident. The problem may be because we put some phony tin can art out there, then the people are going to stop and gawk at it, and then you got some real traffic problems. They're going to say, "What the hell is that?" All right. Now, Red Rock is a legendary figure. It's a legacy. It's a nationwide and further on history. It's the real history, and it's good, solid, clean history.
2 minutes is up if you want to wrap up. I'm sorry.
Please allow this history to be presented to the fine citizen that traverse our western burg. Please do that. Now, I want you folk to be proud that you really had a chance and pulled it off, that you voted to put that Red Rock feature right here on this little knoll in front of us. I don't want to have to go down to Jefferson and Washington Street and some little place to look up to see Red Rock and see that all you got to do is put a little sign below the figurine, say Red Rock. The media in the cell phone industry, everybody that comes already knows what it's going to be. They don't have to go down and read something on a sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but if you can hold the applause, it'd be appreciated. So we can keep the process moving and get everybody's their turn.
Kurt Helber. Kurt.
I got 2 minutes, I got a minute and a half left. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the council. This is a tough one. I get where Mr. Ross is coming from, but I think we can handle it. I think we can put that statue up. We have to put a fence around, and then we have to have a plaque or something that people that don't understand what it is, they can read it from the side. I think this town was based on the rodeo. T-Walt's right. You folks wouldn't be here. 85 years. I had the privilege of competing with Lane Frost. I've seen Red Rock, and he is probably one of the most famous animals in the world. There were 7 triggers. There were 3 lassies. There was only 1 Red Rock. And I think that you have the opportunity to put a legend on that mountain. And you want an art community, but you don't want a history community. If you want to pick an art committee, let's pick it right out of this room right now. And I guarantee you, they won't be in that committee. If you read the nugget, it's going to be a quilt or it's going to be something else. But the history is so important, and this town has 0 history that we support. And Red Rock could be the first piece of it. So thank you very much for your time and I hope you make the right decision because it's really an important one to this town. Thank you.
John Baldwin.
And remember your name and address, please.
John Baldwin.
Good evening. My name's John Baldwin. My address is P.O. Box 1613 here in Sisters. Well, in 1972, I rode through this town for the first time in my life. And my mom came back and settled here in 1989 and started the Sisters Habitat for Humanity thrift store. She put her heart and soul into that. She thought this town was worthwhile and gave it everything she had every day. It's a lot of legendary towns that the West is famous for. You got Cody, Ely, Winnemucca. You could go through any state and find dozens of them. Sisters is no less legendary of a place. It does have a lot of history. Red Rock and Lane Frost are legends. This is not a town that belongs to 5 or 6 council members. And there's a lot of people from a lot of walks of life in here. And I know I speak for most of them. We got art in a roundabout on the west end of this town. Doesn't seem to be causing any accidents. We have a representative of the county law enforcement here who could attest to the fact that nobody's actually driven into a pronghorn antelope in that roundabout. Why would we put anything in the east end that's going to be cause any significantly greater hazard to traffic? I don't think that's the case. We also could put things in the way called guardrails that would maybe prevent that from happening. But to 5 or 6 of you that have to make this decision, please don't ever so expediently pull the concept of safety out of your hip pocket to try to justify nixing this idea of Lane Frost and Red Rock. We all support the idea of Red Rock and Lane Frost, but the decision falls on your shoulders. And that's the legacy that you guys will leave when you step down from this council. Do you want Sisters to be remembered for its rightly legendary status? That's the decision you got to make.
John?
Beth Pruitt.
What was the name? I can hear.
Beth Pruitt.
Hi there.
It's Beth Pruitt. I'm a business owner here in Sisters. I own Mountain View Ranch Vintage. We live in a Western town. We have a Western store. My husband and I have been here since 2005. We moved to this town because of the Western heritage that this town has. We're passionate about the town. You, 5 people, have a decision to make. And it is part of your legacy and part of our history. We hope I think there's probably 80 people here. We hope that you make the right decision for our town and the history and the legacy that our town represents, which is a Western town. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
John Klockner.
John Glockner, Sisters 17280 on the road. My daughters, they're supposed to come up here too. We do the Red Rock Buck and Bull fraternity, excuse me, with Carol Fuel. My wife is a Hoyt. This town, now, I just don't understand why you would want something second best in that location, right? That's all. I mean, it's a Western town. I rode bulls. I wasn't like Kurt Kohlberg. I didn't rodeo with Lane. I was a little bit later, but it's something that everybody in this Western world knows. It's Lane his legacy, Cheyenne, and Red Rock. So that's all we want to think about. With, it's all on you guys. And I hope that you didn't make your decision. Kind of sounds like you did, but hopefully you're not going to go second best. Thank you.
Kathleen Naranjo.
Kathleen Naranjo, PO Box 1294. There was a letter to the editor published that I wrote after I had a conversation with Con Williams last Sunday, who's the bronze sculptor that has created the maquette that is out in the foyer there. He understood, he heard that there were concerns about people crossing into the roundabout, and he wanted to be sure that you knew that he would donate one of those maquettes to wherever we place the plaque, if that happens, so that it could be interacted with and touched. So I wanted to address that. I'm also a proponent for fencing to make that safer. I think that's a great idea. And I also, the scale is currently 1/5 life size, but it will be 1.4%. So it'll be a little bit less than 1.5%, 14 feet at the tip of the tail, 2,500 pounds. It'll be engineered to withstand heavy winds and inclement weather, and it will be bolted in place so not to fall. Like others, I have never seen anyone walk into the roundabout on the other end of town. We can understand that, but we want to address all of your concerns and make this happen. I do have a question. Is the $175,000 solely for the roundabout? If this artwork is to be placed in a place where the donor would accept, would we have that $175,000?
Sorry, this is usually a question and answer time, but we can address that later.
Okay, because the foundry cost is currently, the bid is $190,000. So it's very expensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie Keeper.
Carrie Keeper, PO Box 2041, Sisters, Oregon. Is that better? So I had this all written out, but then after listening to you guys, I had some other things. The safety issue, that doesn't make sense to me. Before there was a roundabout there and the elementary school was there, my child went all through grade school there crossing the road when people could go a lot faster than with the roundabout. I don't see safety as being an issue. I think that there'd be more concern with the horse and the dinosaur that drunk people like to mount up on. I mean, I've seen that. I've never seen anybody in a roundabout. Maybe in Bend, they go hang balls and put googly eyes on things, but I've never seen that. I would think a fence would solve that problem. Studies also show that roundabout art can help drivers because it blocks their view straight across, forcing them to look left where the traffic is coming from. I think that if we put it somewhere else, it's not going to have the same impact that it would in the roundabout. Let's see. So obviously I support it. It's one of the most iconic stories in rodeo history, a story so legendary that they even made a movie about it. Lane Frost and Red Rock weren't just competing, they were telling a story of grit, respect, and the spirit of the West, the very spirit that is built in our community. Once we are all gone, the statue will still be here. It will still be telling that story. And then in regards to people not knowing what it is, I think that if there's a plaque somewhere else, or people might be driving by and see it and their kids might be asking them, well, stories about it, and then they can tell the story about Lane Frost and Red Rock. But I think that it's a privilege that somebody is offering to donate the money, and to just say no to it is just, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Thank you.
Allie Gibney.
Who is that?
Allie Gibney.
Hi, my name's Allie. I'm a senior at Sisters High School. This is the town where I've grown up, learned to drive, learned to work hard, and learn what it means to be part of a community. And part of that community identity is our deep connection to the West, the rodeo, and the stories that have shaped our culture. The Lane Frost riding Red Rock story isn't just a chapter in rodeo history, it's a symbol of determination, respect, and the spirit of never giving up. Lane Frost faced Red Rock 7 times, and Red Rock was undefeated before Lane. That kind of persistence, respect of your craft, and courage in the face of challenge is something young people like me need to see. Having that statue in our roundabout wouldn't just be about honoring history, it would be about inspiring the next generation. Imagine kids driving through it with their parents and asking, "Who's that?" And instead of saying, "Oh, it's just a cowboy in a bull," their parents get to share a story about courage, sportsmanship, and going after something even when the odds are against you. I think it's important to point out the point that something that says about how much this matters to our community. We have an anonymous donor who is willing to make up the difference between what's already been set aside for the roundabout art and the cost of the sculpture. That alone speaks volumes. It shows that people believe in the statue enough to personally invest in it without asking for recognition or credit. Some people have said art like this might not be worth the cost, but public art is more than decoration. It's a way to make a town memorable. We spend money on things that last a year or two all the time. This is something that would last decades, maybe even a century. The statue would outlive most of us, and in that time, it would become a landmark. Something people drive into Sisters just to see, and while they're here, they support our businesses, eat in our restaurants, and fuel our economy. I've grown up in a world where things are constantly changing, fast, digital, and sometimes disconnected. But a statue like this is something that's solid. It's something real, you can touch, you can look at, and you can feel proud of. It connects us to where we came from. I may be heading out of this world soon, but I'd love to come back one day and drive through the roundabout and see Lane and Red Rock standing still, reminding me where I came from and what this town stands for. Thank you.
Ben Capra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Capra, and my family lives about 2 blocks that way on Tamarack Street by the old elementary school. We're a new young family here, and what drew my wife and I to this town is the rich Western history here. And now Sisters is the only home that my girls know. I'm here today to express my support for the Red Rock statue for the Sisters Roundabout. And I'm not alone, as I also represent the support from over 30 other men in our community involved in the Get Strong Ministries out of Ryan's Level 5 CrossFit gym over by Ray's. This is more than just a piece of public art. It's an opportunity to create a landmark that truly reflects the spirit, history, and heart of this community. Sisters has a rich rodeo heritage, and Red Rock is the heart of that heritage. Let's choose an artistic vision that is true to Sisters, not Bend, not Redmond or Portland, a vision that represents this culture, honors this tradition, and strengthens our sense of community. In regards to location and safety, the northwest corner of the roundabout could be the perfect safety compromise. It's a very common practice for towns with inaccessible art to have plaques at accessible areas telling the story of that art. So we could easily have a Red Rock front and center in the roundabout and have the story plaque over there on the northwest corner. For these reasons, I respectfully urge all of you to approve the Red Rock project by direct purchase and install it in the roundabout. Thank you.
Scott Tellerico.
Hi, I'm Scott Tellerico. I'm a citizen of Sisters. I'm the Sisters Rodeo president. I'm also a contractor that has a business in Sisters. And I sit here today and I'm confused. I'm confused at what you're telling us and why it is. There's all kinds of different reasons why we're not putting that thing in. We should put that in. We bring over 35,000 people out of the valley that don't know who Red Rock are, but they come cheer on Cowboys every rodeo season, not knowing them. You talk about safety. Have you seen the hole you dug on the right-hand side of the, I've never driven in it, but somebody's going to. You talk about safety. I've hit 5 deer in and out of Sisters. I've never run over the roundabout. this town has been built on the Western way and the things that this rodeo has done for this town. And if you want to sit back and look and do a study, you'll find out just how much and how important rodeo, Western culture, the different things that bring the people to this town. And the other thing is, you know, they may not know Red Rock when they go around, but we're so much social media today that it's all, you know, all I got to do is say, what's the bull, what's the rider in Sisters, and they find out. So it's not up to 5 people to make the wrong decision. It's up to a world to make the decision. Thank you.
Victor Townsend.
Hi, Becky Townsend. I live on Delicious Street off of Sizemore. We're not officially in Sisters, but this is our town. This is the one we come to. This is the one we shop at. I am impressed with this wonderful community here and how you all gathered together to with your support for Red Rock. But I do want to point out that there's a whole huge community out there that is not part of what you guys represent and your years and your passion. And but what I do love about this town and why we moved here, I'm retired. I'm also a bronze figurative artist for over 35 years. So I really understand the beauty of the sculpture and the meaning of it. I think it's important. It would be important to have it in this town, but I'm afraid I am going to get sick right here. I really think that's not the appropriate place for it in the Roundabout. I think you could find another place that would appropriately honor the deep, rich history of the town and with the sculpture. What I see though, why I'm here and how we ended up here is nature. We're close to nature. I came from a city. We wanted to get out, and we chose this place for the magic of the nature that is here. And we also chose it because of community, because there is such a rich community in this town that we feel a part of. I have people here recognizing me, and I don't even know who you are. And so that's so great, though, because that means we see each other around town, even though we don't know each other. The small, independent businesses that are here add to the richness of that culture. And I think that this town is so much more than a Western town. It has a bigger identity, believe it or not. It has a rich history, but it's bigger than that. And it includes a lot of other people who aren't here, who aren't showing up. So I'll be the one representative here to say, I think where you're going is great. Honestly, I support the Roundabout and the safety and that. I think it is too much of a distraction, but I would love to see it in a really wonderful place where it can be honored as it should be with the history of this town. Thank you, Becky.
Mike Davis.
Hi, I'm Mike Davis. I got a shop here in town. We have nature at the other end of town, the zombie animals that don't exist in Sisters or at the other end of town. So the nature is covered there. The other thing too is, as a business owner, I'm extremely worried about this town taking the path that Bend is, and tourism's down in Bend. You probably all know that. The towns that are thriving, like Cody and Sheridan and Bozeman and East Jackson Hole, have a Western theme. This is that town. It can have other things. I've never been open for the quilt show. I've always closed because I don't want things being stolen out of my shop. 10,000 people were not here for the quilt show. That quilt show is on its way on the decline. So the people that think that we have other things here, we do. We have the folk fest and there's a few things, but the rodeo is what brings the people here. I have a business in town, like I said. That week is our biggest week, not even a question. People want the Western way. Even if they live in the city, they're wearing cowboy boots, they're wearing cowboy hats. They go to these towns that support that stuff. And if you guys want to turn this into Bend, you're on your way. I mean, you are absolutely on your way. The whole thing about safety, I'm not even talking about it. It's absolute BS. Fort Worth has a $20 million art installation of horses. No one's ever run into it. So you're basically saying the people of Sisters and to come through here are all idiots and don't know how to drive. We've all had the concerns, rocks, fences, whatever that can take care of that. But you have no other option. You guys are going to stall this out like you've been doing, kicking this can down the road. We put together a package 6 months ago, sent everyone emails. You all got it. The photos, the construction, the engineering, everything. You have nothing else. So you're going to put your landscape in? Really? Go to Prineville. That's half the town of Sisters has one of the most incredible roundabouts you'll ever see. So we're going to take second place to Prineville. I mean, you guys, honestly, without Michael here, I don't know how you all got elected, but if there's a way to unelect you, I would do it today.
Cindy Sprout. Cindy Sprout. Sprout.
Hi, the name is Cindy Sproat. I became a citizen of Sisters when I was 13 months old. That was about 1954. Growing up here, the industry was logging. This was a podunk logging town. It was Western. The two things that I remember about Sisters that brought that helped the economy was the rodeo and hunting season. Y'all remember what the streets were like when COVID hit? That's what they were like when I was growing up, except for rodeo and except for hunting season. This statue represents our heritage, what this town was built on. I agree with that last speaker. You guys are dragging your feet. If you don't remember the last name, my dad sat in that place, in your place, for 10 years, in the rest of your places for 10 years before that. When he came to this town, he was a logger. He didn't wear loafers, slacks, and a polo shirt. He wore jeans, a Western shirt. He was not a rodeo cowboy, but he worked the rodeo. He did that. And he was in this for what was best for Sisters. I know Sisters has gotten much bigger. It has broadened its horizon. It's more than just a Western town. Of course, it had to grow or die. But that rodeo kept this town going. And when that rodeo started to die out, there were three men, Mert Hunking, three men that I know of. There were more than that, but the Mert Hunking who raised that bull, Richard Rollins, who was part of the sombrero contractors, who raised that bull, brought that bull. That bull was sold because Mert got cancer and died. And there was one other guy, I cannot think of his name. But you need to honor the Western culture. Your deal about safety, I agree with the last speaker, is bull.
Michael.
Well, as you all know, history is seen at a lot of different angles, so I got to put one up here. It's not being mentioned here. And before knowing about your damn safety issue, I personally, with the full help of a great spirit out there in the wind, personally have solved the issue for your roundabout with two final choices. The first, it should be naturally sculpted into a big breast with a big sign that says, "Join us, we're still milking the West." The second, I actually do like better with no breast sculpting, which some mothers, understandably, might find disrespectful. Just cover your little self-made hill with rocks and bunchgrass and put up a long, white, curved, soaring rainbow in natural striped colors that states in vivid words, "Welcome to the Western Bay." Second line below it, of disconnect, privilege, and charm. Below this, on a separate horizontal, smaller sign with no colorful design at the base of your little hill, will state we used it real good in the names. This would popularize your city of sisters far beyond expectation. Real good for a business boom or bust, which is what America is all about. Just make sure I'm getting full artistic credit so the natives will come looking for me. And without a holster, a revolver, or a rifle, I can handle them far better than what's around in this neck of the woods.
Thank you, Michael.
Laura Minor.
Name is Laura Minor, and I live just outside of town on National Forest Lane. I've been coming here since actually 1954 for the rodeo. And my husband and I came back from New York because this is a little Western town that's awesome. And I don't even know half the people in this room, but I know the nature of this town and the spirit of this town and the spirit of these people. And it's Western. And I think that Red Rock and Lane belong in that roundabout. And I agree, it's not going to create an accident. What creates an accident in a roundabout is people driving and not knowing how. They can't maneuver already. They can't maneuver through a roundabout the way that they should and can. But I just wanted to express that even though I don't live in town, Red Rock and Lane Frost mean a lot to me. It's part of the history of this town and these people, and I'm one of those people. And so I think that it would behoove you all on this committee to begin to feel and reach out to people and find out what their desire is for this roundabout. Because it seems like you all have one idea, the rest of the townspeople have another. And the townspeople, everybody I talk to, would love to see Lane Frost and Red Rock in that roundabout, just like I would. So please consider what everybody wants. Thank you.
Paul Bennett.
My name is Paul Bennett. I live in 159 North Rope Street, just down the street from here. First of all, I've lived here 35 years, and I'd like to say I work as an artist, and somehow I've survived as an artist in all the time I've been here. This is a great community for supporting the arts, and it's wonderful to see all of you here supporting in a very emotional way, your feelings about this particular project. And I think it's just wonderful to see such a turnout. I'd also like to say that I was on the committee that selected the roundabout at the west part of town. Also, I was on the committee that selected the horse on here. It was a donated piece, but we spent hundreds of hours in detailing every little, there's just an amazing number of things you have to think about when you're on these committees, even with a donated piece. My point in all this is don't criticize these people for trying their best to do their job. They are listening to you, every one of you, and they have a lot of things to consider. There are so many things that they need to consider. So they are not the bad guys here. Nobody's the bad guys. Everybody's trying to do their best here, but they are listening. Thank you for supporting the arts. And listen to what they have to say too. Thank you.
Marcus Peck.
Marcus Peck, P.O. Box 298, Sisters, Oregon. I'm the proprietor of the sign company that puts the signs up downtown. And I'd like to tell you, your staff goes to great lengths to make sure that we follow the Western heritage. I think you're going down the wrong path here. I think, Gary, I've spoken with you when I sat on the Urban Forestry Board. You got a better brain on your shoulders than to bring up this, oh, it's not safe. That's crap.
That was mostly me, so you can blame me for that.
Well, see, you guys, what happens is that you guys start putting your noses up where the sun doesn't shine.
This is a point for him to make his comments. You be quiet. He has the right to talk. I have the right to listen to what he's gonna say, and I have the right to disagree or agree. But I don't need anybody out there telling me whether he's right, wrong, indifferent, or standing on his head. You're rude when you do that. So stop. Thank you, sir. Continue. And give him his time back.
Now, you're good. Hey, I used to build city parks for a living. And I want to say in a public forum, I'm very proud of this community and the staff that maintain these parks. They do an awesome job. I built art parks where we had bump outs for art to be placed in the parks. There's a lot of good that goes on in the art world. And I think you're missing the boat. You're missing a wonderful opportunity to not only have the heritage of sisters in this roundabout, but to have quality art also in this roundabout. You're missing the boat. And these people are going to be the ones that will vote you guys out if you blow this. Thank you.
Patty Cordoni.
Patty Cordoni, P.O. Box 3500, Sisters. You've heard from the community, so I'm not going to repeat what everybody said. I agree with what's going on. We brought you a gift. Our team brought you a gift. We worked really hard to put all the information together for you. We will work with you to make this happen if you would like us to in the roundabout. Make it safe. Make a kiosk, so people don't go walk out there. Put up something, go online, something under the statue, on the fence. We can make a fence with it that's see-through, that it won't obstruct traffic. We could put a website. We'll build a website for you. Or do it, put it on the city's website. We want to make this happen. It's generational that's going on. John Block and his daughters. Come up here, you girls. These are great girls. They have their own bull breeding program. The bloodlines come from Red Rock. This is generational. This is our history, and they're trying to preserve it. Help them preserve what we're doing and where we came from. It's important to the community. And I know there's differences out there. Of course there is. There's always going to be. But you can't pass up this gift that we've brought to you, please. We really want to make this happen for the community and for our children. Do you girls want to say anything? No, but I mean, they know the history. The kids in the high school know the history. This isn't just a bunch of adults trying to get artwork because we like it. It means a lot to sisters. So thank you.
If you're on Zoom and would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand.
I'd like to say something about that. I think
Can you-
pretty much knows who I am.
Can you fill out a form and come to the podium?
What?
I'll fill the form out for him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's public record, so that's why we have to take your name.
My name is.
And it's recorded, so you
Britain
need to be at the microphone.
That's
Just
the-
like Wiener with the D. And Pam, you're a lot more to art than just art. We are a way of life.
Our way of life is ma'am and sir,
Yeah.
respect. And I don't want to tell you anything that you've already heard. I want to tell you a story about Red Rock because there's history there. When he used to buck out here, he'd get done bucking and his owner would take him down to the end of the red section and let the kids ride him on the back. I mean, this animal, and Lane Frost also, had history behind him. And that's what we're here about, history. And you guys can think whatever you want. I don't care who elected you. I don't care anything about anybody in this group. You have the responsibility to do what you think is right. And the right thing to do is what we say is right. Because that's who leads you, is us. Just like the government. We have the right to voice our opinions, and you have the right to have your own. And I'm just telling you, there's a whole lot of history behind Red Rock, Lane Frost, and a bunch of guys I know out here. Some passed away already. But there's some serious stories about the Western way of life in this town. And to get rid of that is not the way to go. The way to go is to embrace it and to be part of it and show everyone that we have the Western way of life. Well, we shake a guy's hand, and you better be willing to go all the way with your word, because that's all you're going to have, and that's all you're going to take with you when you go. So my 2 minutes are up. And thank you for your time.
No, there are none.
Okay, that's visitor communication. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time and your comments. This is America. We all still have a voice and we have the right to share it. And I really appreciate everybody coming out and exercising democratic voice. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
The approval of consent agenda?
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
You approve the agenda too.
Okay. We already did that before visitor communication.
Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, on to council business. So we have our community grant award.
Yes, so council has
Are you
budgeted.
having technical-
Oh, I'm sorry. We are having technical difficulties. Joe will have this spreadsheet, a working spreadsheet on his laptop.
I'm just gonna say, if a lot of people want to get going, you can do it now, so we can meet. We'll pause while you leave, or you can stay.
If you don't have access to the spreadsheet and want to see it, I can make a print copy right now. You have that?
Sure.
I have an extra one.
I think it's already.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Is there any possible way that they will open more discussion at the end?
At the end, they will probably talk amongst themselves during mayor and council business. It won't be a back and forth, but it'll be, so you can either, if you wanted to go home, you can join by Zoom and follow the conversation, or I will have this posted tomorrow morning. So you can go back to the video and check it out. Okay. Please, no. Ah.
Oh, thank you.
And then I can address it. Can't get on the and I'm not getting on the fly. I've got Skype on there. I'm still here. I'm trying to get on it. I'm still get on. I am not connected to the internet. Your network never lets me on.
I just like your laptop, yeah. I can come up here and we can kind of go back and forth. See a picture of you. Would you do something?
Well, there was extra money left over, so we have
this.
the part where we kind of disseminate that. I am.
You are.
I have some spreadsheets in front.
You guys want this at all?
I think I can, if you just tell me what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Anything else?
It's okay. That's fine. Well, that's part of it. But some people get a little rude, they'll say something, otherwise. You know, most of them are very, almost everybody is respectful. There's just a few. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for saying something.
As far as this goes. Let's see. Yeah. Resetting.
This is
Zoom.
I'm just trying to find a way to. And people are able to see it.
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
It's just not.
It's just not in the. It's just not in the. It's on the projector.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm on Zoom and I can see it.
Okay, good.
So are we still recording?
So yeah, I'm not worried about
that.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm gonna turn this off. All right. Yeah, okay, Joe, do you want to be here?
In terms of the community grants,
Well, just in case I've got to walk around my computer. Are you guys ready for the community grants?
Yes, you can fix the internet.
Yeah. That's tomorrow, Joe's. Can you speak louder into the microphone? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Okay, so in our packet, you're provided the whole
Yeah.
list of requests.
No, we don't do that.
Okay, let me know when you guys are ready. You're good, you're good.
a circus.
Broken.
Want to go ahead?
I just went into.
Oh, okay.
Councilor McDougal, yeah, just let me know when you're ready. And we'll-
What's,
No, it's okay.
is there feedback?
Here.
Somebody has their audio.
Oh, you know what's probably my computer.
Can you
Yeah.
use?
I can't find even a mute
I
button.
might have been.
I know, but I still, my sound's still on, so.
So what I did was I hit the mute and it turned itself back on automatically. So go back to your volume and just put it down to almost the very bottom of this. Best way to squeeze down to the top. And then. It's working.
Oh, I just found
I'm gonna just put it up there and then it comes in.
Let's see if it opens. The internet file.
Oh,
Yeah, which one?
I'm going in through my phone.
Sorry, I'm just turning it into IT.
Is that better?
Yeah, it still gets on. Oh, it's just yeah.
You're trying to scroll it. Okay. We all good?
Good, ready?
Let's go.
Okay. So community grants, okay, so as you know, you allocated $30,000 during the budget process of 25-26 for community grants. Multiple groups of organizations submitted requests for those community grants. In the packet, you have all of those requests. And I think Rebecca sent you a worksheet on Monday, kind of lining out kind of the average of what the approvals were for the majority of council, right? So if there was less than 3, then that allocation went to 0. So that total, I think in your worksheet, came to $27,270. Nothing. You want to? I can move over there too.
I can't get the volume and won't even give me an option.
Okay. Oh.
I do have the copy.
I can come over here. We can look at, okay.
What, is she special?
She is, yeah, you all are, yes, she's. I can hover, yes, she is. So what we did was, we took the difference between the 30,000 and 27,000, we used some round numbers. And we allocated that throughout the rest of the, kind of the majority approved applicants, if you will. So, the ones that had 2 or less still had 0. But the ones that had 3 or more got a portion of the remaining allocation. So you can see everybody got $107, except for 2. The reason why, some of them were already fully funded, so they didn't need any more. So that's kind of how we went with this methodology. And so that's what you're kind of presented with here. Of course, if you guys want to have any conversations, make any changes or adjustments, you know, we can accommodate those, but we thought this was kind of an equitable way to kind of reallocate all of the funds. You know, in the past, we've never really had $3,000. Usually it's been kind of less than 1,000. So we've kind of, you know, threw a couple $100 here and there. But just with the bigger number, we just thought that was an easier way to kind of reallocate things. So that's kind of where it stands now, with the worksheet you have in front of you.
So I would like us to consider taking some portion of that 2,700 and bumping up the amount of money for the Camp Sherman Fire District for the PSA specific to wildland fire and public safety. We've had an awful lot of discussions with our partners. They've been sitting at the table with us, working on all of our wildland fire stuff and everything else. I don't think they'd be asking us for it, what's going to cost to do that. And I think it's important to have some of this material out in front of people. So I'm a little concerned, having worked in this industry some, that the amount of money that's being put forward at $2,250 is not significant enough to be able to allow them to do what they need to do. I think if you can bump 1,000 out of that, it becomes a little more doable. So that would be my preference over the average allocations, giving everybody $107. It's like, so what? I think it's more important to me that we have an impact on something in here that's important to us. This may not be important to others of you, and I get that, but I'm telling you right now, I think that allocation is too low for what it is that we've been doing with this particular group of people.
Not to be contrary, I'm happy with the simple allocation and moving on. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I can go either way on that. If you like the simplicity of just going with the even allocations to everybody else. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Gary. I think, however, I'm trying to, you know, take that same lens and apply it to some of those other things. So,
So I have a glad to see. So Gary, I appreciate what you're saying, and I also one of the things that crossed my mind when I was doing this, and I realized we're only talking about community grants here. So as far as community grants goes, I would be in favor of keeping it as you know evenly allocated. However, I wouldn't mind bringing something else up in the council comments to discuss funding from somewhere else to finish it off. So
okay,
I'll make that note and I will do that. That's where Sarah is.
Just, you know, I'm not calling on it one way or the other. I just wanted to make a point that I think for what they want to do, that's underfunded. If there's other funding sources and stuff available, it makes them comfortable. I just think that of all the things we spent the most time on last year, this is it.
yeah, I think I mean, I totally agree. I think what I'm struggling with is that, you know, this is supposed to be grants for the community and community organizations. And, you know, I feel a little awkward focusing more money on something that is important to us. Specifically as a goal, you know, of wildfire education, things like that. That's kind of what comes to mind. Again, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying it's a horrible idea. Cheryl, you have.
Yes, trying to collect my thoughts here. So, two that stood out for me is hoping to see a little more allocation, was NAMI. Very concerned about our community mental health, especially amongst our youth. And, they're asking to, put on a community mental health fair in our town. So I was hoping to see something a bit more, we have allocated less than half of what they were asking for. On the Sisters Camp Sherman Fire District, I hear you, Gary. When I thought about the video production, I was wondering, well, those videos could be used anywhere. It's not something specific to Sisters, right? I mean, I'm assuming it could be used anywhere. I don't know that, I'm talking out loud. I don't know if that changes my mind or not. And then I was wondering if there was actually other task district money that they have to apply to this. I don't recall if the application said this was their total estimated cost for this project, or if this was would it be a contribution towards the total cost? Sorry.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay bumping up the fire district, and NAMI would be my other choice. Do you have a thought on the amount?
Well, I just was thinking about 1,000 of it, but. And I with you, it could be used anywhere, but I guess that. You raise an interesting point. It wasn't. If it's going to be Sisters area specific in what they're doing, showing scenes of the town, showing yards, showing the type of debris that we have there, what you do for cleanup. That's what I was thinking, but it may be that they're just a little more specific. And I suspect they are hiring a production company to do this. I don't think that the expertise is in the house. And so it could be more than 5,000 that they need to do it. I really don't know.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna point out that what makes this difficult is, okay, let's say we give 1,000 to them. Then we look at who do we take that away from instead of just having an even amount. It doesn't mean we couldn't retool it and say, okay, put 1,000 there and then just redivide it up into a smaller quantity. It would be about $60 or something like that.
And they are right now getting the most of anybody.
That's one of the things I struggle with is when somebody, no matter who it is, asks for 10% or more of the whole pie, It's like, we only have 30,000, and it's like, we had 78,000 in requests, and you've got people asking for 5 and 10,000 or whatever. And it's the difficulty I had with it is if I was one of these people, I don't think I would ask for more than, I don't know, 10% or 6%, or I would come up with something in my head to make sure I got as funded as I could.
Well, they were the only big ticket item that I thought had value to the community. The other ones were very easy to. I'll just.
And I'm obviously saying I'm not just gonna be any of these people. I'm not just gonna be any of these people at all. I'm just trying to make it fair and fast. That's all. It's kind of the way I did.
I also think that the way the process works is that we are, in essence, making our votes behind the scene with our dollars that we've allocated. And
that's true.
And this is kind of how it lands. I realize there are some leftover dollars that have been, it's proposed to just equally allocate those, but that trying to reallocate those dollars in another manner really ends up with us trying to debate what our votes were behind the scenes.
You're right.
Again.
Yep.
So that's my perspective, so that's where.
Well, and I will say this in the allocation. In days of old, when some of us weren't quite as gray, we did debate every one of these in depth.
I have watched. Yes, I have.
And it was brutal.
Yes.
So I'm not adverse to what's happened. I just was trying trying to pick up on our theme that we've had for the last several months about fire prevention. I think that we want to put some more money towards that. That was the only one I was looking at reallocating some dollars towards. For that reason and that reason only.
I mean, I'm honestly kind of ticked off because there's 4 things that I didn't want funded that you guys funded. No, I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just saying, it's just, that's the process.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's the
process we
process.
have.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's, thank you, Carrie, it's way better than it used to be.
Oh, much
And
better.
it's been evolving and, you know, I just kind of look at it, the overall perspective of what we do up here. This is kind of the easy thing. We're just giving away money. At the same time, we're just trying to be as transparent as possible, understandable. But I'm ready to go home, so let's wrap it up. I don't know, that's just how I feel about it. I'm looking for simplicity and making this as easy as possible, I think and I think, you know, are we maybe missing something? Maybe, but we can have another discussion about that for next year too.
Yeah, I
Right?
think-
We can always make it better.
Yeah, this is a process where, you know, I think we all like go through, we do the homework, we read every application, spend a lot of time. Moving up the money, which is hard, and then, you know, we submit it, staff processes it, which is wonderful, and then 2 days later, you're like.
Right.
Well, there was that one, or you hear something, you know, you meet somebody and you're like, oh, you're involved in that, oh, I didn't understand, you know.
And that would Habitat for Humanity, and I'm like, no,
They're not, fly by night organization.
no.
I'm
So-
fine with accepting as is with
I-
the
Yeah.
allocation.
Yeah, I am as well.
That's fine.
See how it's.
No on the fly Excel
See,
stuff,
that's
you're ready to go, your formulas in place.
The 2 blue
You
lines.
spoiled us.
Take the blue line out.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird to have the 40 cents though. Okay, if you guys don't mind writing
We
the
can,
checks.
no, it's fine. It's,
Type in an extra digits there.
that's just Kim.
Okay.
She's not here.
Throw her under the bus.
No, I'm kidding. It's fine.
Speaking of that, I signed checks, so we don't have to do it later. How about that?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. All
It
right.
was,
Thank you.
it was super big, but I have.
Is this emotion?
Okay.
So- It's a big.
So,
Are we-
okay, so, do I have a motion?
I move. Oh, wait, please.
I move to award community grants for fiscal year 2025-26, I guess, as recommended by the guy.
Second.
All right, any final discussion?
You didn't do what I
No.
wanted. No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Thank you again to Harry. and
When you
staff.
get to read off the awards, is that next meeting? or-
Uh,
Isn't that what you,
we used to do that, and I think we just.
is that what the thing of?
As a
as
table.
Okay. But I remember having to read them off, every one of
Yeah, that
them.
was kind of Nancy's jam, wasn't it?
Oh.
I remember.
Anyway. yeah.
I'll inform them that they
Okay,
received them.
that's
We'll
fine.
put them up on the
I just
website.
remember having to read it off a few years back and I.
You got 30 more minutes before I goes on.
Okay, response to fire meeting public comments, so none. I think we've had a recess, so it's been a while. So staff comments. Trevor Jordan?
Yeah, and Mayor, if it's all right with you, to answer the question, one of the questions during tonight's public comments. We do have an IGA with ODOT. Amendment 4 kind of outlining responsibilities for maintenance of the landscaping and the roundabout art, and also kind of the requirements about roundabout art. So I think there's an outstanding question, do we then need to amend it if, say, we don't do roundabout art? But there's nothing that is requiring us for the construction of a roundabout in Sisters for us to actually have to do roundabout art. That was something that we brought and them saying that's something we want to have on the hands roundabout, we're gonna pay for it with our funds. So long story short, we'll find out the answer to whether that IGA needs to be. Yeah, but it is an allocation from urban renewal that can be changed by the board. You know, the board can decide that, you know what, we'll put $5 towards art and put $170,000 towards something else in, you know, the district. So you do have the authority to make a budget adjustment there.
You mean the URA?
Sorry, yes. Did I say?
He's not
No.
us.
Oh, urban renewal.
He should say the board, but he didn't say the board.
I'm giving you a hard time, sorry, it's a little late in there.
I caught that
Okay,
too, by
thank
the way.
you.
All right, that comments?
Yep, so mentioned this earlier, we have the RFP out for the signage master plan. That's gonna be due back on the 28th. I think we've had a few good firms already interested in that, and that's a project that we're working with Explore Sisters on as well. Carrie's working on a grant for the Oregon Capital Foundation for funding for our CLA program for additional 2 years. So any grants that we can give that would be great to continue that program. I think council saw, actually, I don't know if it went to council, but we did get the biannual financial review from Explore Sisters this last week, and no concerns from us in our review of that. Good. There was a partnership on house assist meeting last week on Wednesday. They reviewed all the information from the last community conversation, and then they'll continue to refine that at their next meeting next month, September 10th. So the Deschutes County District Mapping Advisory Committee, DMAC, they will be doing a roadshow as part of their series of meetings and going to different communities. They'll be coming here to City Hall on September 17th. It's actually during the daytime, though. It's 1 to 3 p.m. But that will be an opportunity for folks. So it's a public meeting. Folks can come watch that committee at their work. September 17th, 1 to 3. Speaking of the county, we have a new sheriff. New sheriff in town, Ty Rupert. His office already reached out about meeting with staff. So I'll be setting up a meeting with him, and then I'll be inviting him to come to council as well. You all next month or so. Other news from the state now, the building hardening administrative rules are out. That came out last week. The Building Codes Division adopted temporary rules for implementing R327. And so we're reviewing those. I don't think it's too high of a bar or anything as far as what process we need to go through to adopt that. So let's say notification and things like that. So we're working with the county, Krista, the next steps on working through that, those rules and getting that back in front of you. Also in planning, the assistant associate planner, that position, we closed that application period. We had 144 applications. We did narrow it down. So we did that. We're going through the kind of the final stack, which there's a handful of promising candidates there. And so in the next couple of weeks, we'll be going through interview process and all that. So maybe a sign of the job market, maybe a sign that people might come and work here. But always good to see that, having that big of a choice. And then thank you to our to Lucia, our planning intern. Her last day was on Tuesday. She helped us out this summer, which was helpful for us when we lost Emily. So it was nice having extra hands for her. And hopefully that was a good experience for her. She's going back to the University of Utah. And her program, I think, is like urban ecology, but I think it was a useful experience for her. Probably know the status of UGB. I think you've seen a few emails about that. The steering committee voted to recommend concept A as the preferred alternative. All this is on our website now about their actions. You can watch a steering committee as well if you're interested in the dialogue there. The next step will be planning commission on September 21st. August, and that packet's already gone out for the planning commission. And then we'll have a city council check-in on that on September 24th. So next month. You saw the county's decision on MMD as well. So that information is out there. And they'll be coming back to the board for the final decision, and then that notice will go out, and there's an appeal period for that. So yeah. Just wanted to share also, I think I gave an email update about this, and Joe provided this information too about the RV dump station at Gateway Park. It's actually pretty popular. About a third of our total usage of our dump stations is occurring at the Gateway Park now. And over 200 times it was used in the first month. They're a pretty good sign. And I think the camp hosts have been redirecting people as people are lining up, at the campground or whatever. So
We have a lot of coffee extensions, so I have.
yeah.
I have a question actually for Joe.
Yeah.
In the AP. The lease on the dumpster, the lease to Santa Star?
Yeah.
Is that a yearly figure?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know. I figured it was, but.
Yeah.
And then on Gateway Park, so Jackson's meeting with CET, we're coming up with the bus shelter that's been ordered. They've been kind of figuring out where best to place that. And so it's kind of one of the last missing pieces of Gateway Park. We're also continue to work on the plans for the fencing of the labyrinth and then the dog park there. So working on a site plan for that. Speaking of labyrinth, it happened last week to take a little vacation. Went to Orcas Island, and there was a community labyrinth. And then I come home and I read the paper, and Bend is putting in a community labyrinth. I'm like, what is going on? This Sisters was the first one I ever came across, and in the last couple of weeks,
Orcas has had there for a while.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, right above the church. The Northwest Park Master Plan, there'll be 3 conceptual plans based off the input that we got through the open house and the online survey that will be coming to the City Parks Advisory Board September 3rd. And then we're going to have a council work session on that with the conceptual plans on September 10th. And then later in the fall, I think there's going to be another open house and public input. Awesome. Lots of construction going on. I think you've seen it out there. It's going to continue to be there and even get more construction as we move into the fall as well. Because we have things like the pump station and the force main work that start. But the chip sealing work, probably saw that. Didn't get a lot of complaints. I don't think we got any about loose rock or gravel, which is always good. The fog seal is happening on the 18th. So we'll get notices out about that so folks can be aware. It's a good time not to be driving on these roads. And then let's see. I'll go on and on. So as part of our my weekend updates, I'll be providing project updates from our capital projects manager who helps out that list. The list is longer than that of certain projects, but if there's any more information that you guys want on any particular projects, happy to provide those. A lot of it is where we at in terms of the design, bidding, construction schedules, obviously, when it might be coming to council for contract approvals and things like that. But that will be something that will be a regular kind of notice and updates for you guys to be aware of, like just where we're at with these big projects. For example, like Adams, right? We've gotten, sort of engineering plans being updated. We're working on that whole corridor and any kind of encroachments, which there's basically just one that we're working through before we can finalize and start getting those engineering plans revised and finalized. But and then on Barclay, everything there is pretty much complete on phase 1. Some restriping work for phase 3, which will be applying to the roundabout, will be happening, I think, at the end of August. So you'll see some additional changes there. All the work with the wells, so well 1, well 3, I just signed the permits for today. So that's going to the county. Sorry, and we do have to get building permits actually for our wells. Yeah, it's all ended there.
Thanks,
Any questions for staff? Happy to answer.
Did the permits take as long for us as they do for everything else?
Yeah, we'll find out.
Like, we don't have a step to the front or anything kind of thing.
What was the question?
Whether if we're getting building permits, if they go to the front of the line. I'm just curious.
As a city,
As a city.
as compared to the rest of the public.
Oh, yeah. Curiosity.
You just let the rabbit out of the hat there.
I mean, we work closely with them, obviously, but I don't know for sure, but a lot of these building divisions have different arms, different types of projects.
There's probably not a lot of people in the well permit division.
Okay.
Who is this shadowy capital improvement project manager that you keep talking about?
I don't know. It's a non-existent person, I think.
And he's doing well in his position.
He's doing very well. He's at an event right now. But otherwise, he would be here.
We speak of him as if he's not around anymore. The goats.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Thanks. Okay, how about counselor business or updates? Anybody know? Been a month.
I had a couple meetings. I did a tree meeting, right after the last city council meeting because someone couldn't make it, right?
Yeah, for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't come
Tree,
for you. Yeah.
Urban Forestry Board, yes. We spent 2 hours on a tree, one tree.
That sounds right.
And boy, I was happy about that. Good. It was actually pretty fascinating, great board. Yeah. Just serious discussion. I had it's Four Sisters board meeting 2 weeks ago, end of July, right? That went well. Nothing really surprising, nothing going on other than everybody busy doing the summer. And so nobody was, everybody seemed tired, and that's okay because I was tired as well. And there was enough question about having a quorum for this month's meeting. I was like, well, why have one? I mean, and they were like, yeah, why have one? So we're not gonna have another meeting. So there you go. And then next week's planning commission meeting as liaison, I'm not gonna go because it's about UGB, and I thought, no, I better not do that. I would show up and then have to just leave anyway, so I'm just not gonna be there. Is that tomorrow? That's true. Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah.
But anyway, he did put the packet out earlier, so the packet's out there if you want to see where they're gonna be. But, I won't be there to listen because I'm gonna find out about it next month.
I think that's a smart move.
I mean, just why?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a conflict of,
I know.
Alliance, but
It's just better, right? It's safer. It's a safe way, so I won't be there. And that's it, other than, think about the bull, maybe. I don't know. That's up to you guys.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Anything else?
I'll go. Did the hometown hang conversation with counselors with Mayor Lex, and I thought it was a great success because everybody had to walk by our booth to get in and get out. So we had a captive audience and a lot of engagement.
Was that at the musical performance?
Yeah, the arts building system.
Sorry, I missed
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great turnout. So I'm all for this change in how we're doing our conversations with counselors. I had emailed everybody to get your feedback on proposing a code change, or at least proposing us to start the process. And that is to modify the tree removal permit process to exclude the requirement of a permit if the tree species is on our prohibited flammable tree list, thus removing barriers of creating defensible space on private property. For example, a property owner could remove a significant juniper tree on their property without a permit while trying to create their defensible space. Any feedback on that? And could we make a decision to have staff put that together and present it for approval, reviews and approval?
Didn't I answer you in email?
You did in the email. Thank you.
So I'm supportive of that action.
Yeah.
I'm not unsupportive of it. I think it's a good idea. However, I think I kind of want to take a look at what's on the prohibited tree list and make sure, I just want to make sure that we aren't creating for ourselves an unintentional problem by walking back that particular piece of decision. And then the next question is, what if the tree is more than 30 feet away from the house? We've talked about that 30-foot buffer. So I think that I think it needs to be wordsmithed a little bit and just taking a careful look at it. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But I just want to be sure we aren't creating for ourselves an unintentional opportunity for someone to take advantage of it. Take a big blue spruce or something like that. That might be a significant tree, even though I would love my neighbor to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on the prohibited, plant list, it's probably in general okay to take out anywhere on the property, but you might want to look at the details of each one
Well,
to make sure, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm thinking that when you look at some other areas, for instance, there are some very large, but enough to be quote significant, as we've defined significant, blue spruces around town.
But they should all be common.
I don't,
They're prohibited.
I don't disagree with you, but my point becomes that the urban canopy, and there's a lot of discussion that occurs in the Juneau from your one meeting about removal of trees.
Sure.
And I know the urban forestry board spent an awful lot of time working on that, so I want to be faithful to the work that they've done, and I just want to be sure that we aren't creating an unintentional problem, but I think it's a great idea. I really do, I just not sure how we do it.
But I hear what you're saying, because I'm on the board as well, and there's kind of this balance that we've talked about, defensible space and our urban forest. You know, and how do you balance that?
Well, and maybe the compromise is come up with some language and run it through the board and see what they say.
So if you guys, so let me put it this way, do you guys think it's worth making that, having staff make that effort?
I think it is, because it's not like it's a whole lot of language. It's like whatever's on the list
Okay.
can be done without a permit. And then you start there, and then if the urban forestry board says, well, these species maybe, but these for sure, and then maybe these not, and let them vet it.
Yeah, they're kind of two documents that are jiving well right now.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if
And you get to,
they were complementary instead of kind of confusing, I think,
Yeah.
right now.
So, yeah, I mean, yes.
I think good suggestion. I think it's my neighbor here.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you have any feedback on that?
I am with you, and I do like the idea that going back through the forestry board, just because that's they're the people who think about this the most. And they would come up with the weird stuff, you know, the quirky pieces that they think about more than I do.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
throw it
appreciate
against the
that.
wall, see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. I'm not offended.
Yeah, no, but
Leave a big green
it's a nice
smear.
thought. I like it.
Smell like juniper.
Okay. We don't need a vote for this, right? Jordan?
No, I get your direction. I think we'll try. Probably just go straight to the urban forestry board and list some maybe parameters of the building council seeking, get their input, draft some language, add that modification. And yeah, I hear you, your comments are the kind of the same sort of thoughts that we had was the 30-foot, you know, do you want to be consistent or anything outside of 30 feet, then it's not part of this sort of modification. And then there is a question of whether, and this maybe is what the forestry board weighed in on permit requirements. Another whole purpose would be to make it easier to remove prohibited trees, but how do you verify that, right? That, you know, if you add 30 foot, you know, how do you verify that it's, you know, within 29 feet or it's a 32 feet, right? And how do you verify the species, things like that, right? Without making it a very process for someone to go through get these trees. So I think there's enough there that it probably is a 2-hour discussion at the urban forestry board.
Yeah, maybe please attend that one.
But we will.
I see 5 minute topics, we got 2 hours.
Okay, never mind.
We'll work there.
All right,
Good group of people.
yeah. The MERV van. Matt Olson reached out to Lou Blanchard, and they discussed having MERV periodically move more north of town, potentially working around kind of core services with the food banks and things like that, which I thought was a good idea because we're so far just been down here by the community center. So I'm just glad that Matt is spending the time to talk to our community partners. COIC, I attended the board meeting. As you heard, Bob Townsend told us at our last meeting about the CET bus fare that's going to go into place. It's now looking more like January. So the community connector line, it'll be $2 each way. They also introduced a reduced fare, a 50% discount for seniors, disabled veterans, people on Medicaid, so forth, I requested that since this is not a revenue stream per se that they're looking to provide here, this is just to help with future maintenance of the buses. And it's more of a service that's being offered to our communities. That we also expand that list to include all veterans and active duty military, which was approved by the board. And lastly, the city manager evaluation form. Thanks for everybody who gave me feedback on that. And we're gonna be workshopping that at the end of the month. And I will give, I guess, Rebecca the draft process that goes with that form. And I appreciate all your thoughts and everything. I incorporated what I could. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for
I'll have it done in time for the next evaluation.
Just remember, you did all that great work and then we'll destroy it on the workshop.
Drop that.
Carrie, Sarah?
Make notes and then it's like, well, it's 8:23. I think all I'm gonna say is that I just wanna give a shout out to staff and the staff reports. And this week I was reading, and not that they're not all great, because I actually think they're all so helpful and well written and easy to follow. When I read this week's staff report by Paul regarding the sewer piece, the part replacement, I was like, I can't believe I can understand this. And that just made me think, wow, like brought to light just how high quality these documents are and what kind of thought goes into them. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Learn more about tree screens than I ever wanted to know.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, we don't need to know what's not good.
Yeah, no more debris talk, please.
Some of the poop patients help. The rest. Gary, did you have
Nothing,
anything?
not a
Okay.
thing. Talk to you about my sailing.
Lazy
adventures, but,
Gary.
Yeah, lazy Gary.
I attended the Regional Business Alliance meeting with Jordan, and so that is for clarity, just an organization trying to stand up that would basically be a voice to Salem for business, all types of business, retail, traded sector, everything in Central Oregon. It's not promotion or anything like that. It's really just trying to get the message from business owners and operators in Central Oregon to Salem. So that was kind of good to get that clarity because we were thinking, oh, one more business association. So what was the special thing there? So and they're going to have a summit early September event to kind of talk more about what they hope to accomplish and things like that. So stay tuned on that. Yeah, we did finally cross the finish line with the UGBCRA committee. Michael and I, just a really great group, really engaged, hardworking. Again, big thanks to them for the work that they put in, extra meetings.
But all the meetings got done on time. It was really, everybody was very aware of the timeframes that we had. It was very robust, but succinct at the same time.
Yeah, and maybe a couple extra meetings because had some public comment that kind of crept into our discussion time, but also great public comments. So you can never complain about that. I got to attend the grand opening of the fair, which was fun.
Were the birds and the bees all there?
There were, they were all there.
Late.
First day, everything was fresh. It never gets to go on the first day, so it was food looked fresh and not sad after 5 days ski. So that was fun. I had a good conversation with Peter Hoover from Habitats. Kind of talked about a couple issues, stuff working with staff still on some bumps with the deferred SDCs that we voted on a little while ago, but I think it's getting worked through. And also discussion around having maybe because we're going to come into this annexation criteria discussion really fast. A lot of people are really interested in affordable housing and how we're going to make that happen. And, we talked about possibly doing a housing roundtable, but maybe focusing it a little bit more down to affordable housing instead of just kind of the big picture. So maybe more to come on that, but kind of the thought that if we really got some of the key players who, lessons learned, all that building affordable houses, we can maybe reverse engineer maybe some of the annexation criteria, things like that, master plan criteria, and instead of, other communities have, tried like 30%, and that's not worked out really
Are we
well.
allowed to annex public facility for the city? I mean, land for the city to be part of the city land. Are we allowed to acquire some of that? So we could be the facilitator of land for.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I saw you squinting at me and I thought that. I was having a moment.
Oh, yeah, I thought you meant for like a sewer pump station or something.
There's opportunity for the city to gain more land too, right?
We would have to pay for it from somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it does, I don't expect people to give it to us for free. But there's opportunity, there's a path to do that, right?
I think there is. So thinking of a scenario, like we need parkland.
Well, we need parkland, but what if we wanted to set aside something
Yeah,
in addition to that, such
yeah,
as,
yeah.
hey, let's do a 5 acre thing of something that's affordable housing that we could provide to a nonprofit that builds affordable housing because they're short of land. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a question because I've never annexed anything before and I'm getting really excited.
Yeah.
You have to stay on council.
Well, I think, and there are other things too, how do we create diversity in neighborhoods so we don't have some of the mono neighborhoods that we've had built recently, and to try to make this part of the community that we're proud of, happy about. And there's strategies for that. They aren't always fun and they aren't always neat, but
And they're rarely easy because we're trying to diversify places and have them develop, and we're making it harder to develop, right? But these are the conversations we're gonna have.
I think we should.
Yeah.
And that's a good point.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll talk to Jordan about it and so.
Jordan would love to be a landlord, so do that.
Yeah, hopefully we can kind of congeal some sort of meeting like that coming up soon. Attended National Night Out. Kind of fun to see. A lot of fun stuff that the sheriff's department and the fire district brought out for
Only go for the ice
for
cream.
the kids, and that's some ice cream. They even had a snow cone trailer there as well, so.
That was my birthday.
Oh.
I was into the margaritas, so.
Oh, okay.
I just,
Well, belated on your
Well,
birthday.
they had snow cones.
I know. And ice cream.
I messed out.
They would have let you get on the fire engine and put the fire.
I would have had too much fun. I would have.
Yeah. And then I did have attended the monthly VPAC meeting, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for Deschutes County. Just bring that up because just wanted to mention the passing of Annie Marlin. I took her place on that committee for kind of the sister seat, and she passed away a couple weeks ago. And she was very active in the community in all sorts of committees and STARS and just all sorts of things. So ashamed to lose her, little Spitfire, full of energy and but made a really big impact on sisters and sisters countries. So to mention her and thank her for all of her service to our community. So that's all I have. Anybody else have any final words? Okay, I adjourn the regular city council meeting and we're going to adjourn to the executive session.
Well, that's right. With chocolate cookies.
The city council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 to consider real property transactions. The council will not be returning to open session following the executive session. Only representatives of the news media and designated staff will be permitted to attend the executive sessions. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the sessions as announced. No decisions will be made during the executive session.